Now to education matters. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, a special committee on examination infractions, has presented its report to the examination body, exposing how technology-driven malpractice is undermining Nigeria's admission process. The committee, chaired by Dr. Jake Epele, found cases of biometric fraud, AI image manipulation, forged credentials, and collusion with schools and parents. It warned that exam malpractice, which has now become highly organized risk, undermining public trust in Nigeria's education system. It made some recommendations, including AI power detection tools, tougher sanctions, legal reforms, and a national integrity campaign. The Registrar of JAMB, on his part, has promised to study the recommendations as part of efforts to safeguard the integrity of admissions.
What we discovered shocked us deeply. One, examination malpractices has evolved into a highly organized, technology-driven, and culturally normalized enterprise. We documented 4,251 cases of finger blending, 190 cases of AI-assisted image morphing.
Whatever is beyond JAMB will go to the appropriate authorities, including the Ministry of Education and the National Assembly. That's exactly what we will do. But whatever is within our purview will be done immediately. I believe they will have looked at. Some people believe that examination malpractice is on the rise. It's not true. When you are talking of real examination malpractice that we know, this year we have about 140 of them, so which is still relatively low.
Now, for more perspective to this development, I'm joined by researcher and educationist Peter Ogundero. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure to join you.
So when JAMB announced technical glitch to its UTME results, it came under severe criticism. And then when it also had issues with the SSC result, it was also criticized. But as you now listen to or read the statement coming from JAMB, that some of these issues are even coming from the students themselves who are applying for these exams. I mean, how do you react to this?
Yeah, if you listen to the report well, just as I tried to, you will hear that the challenge is driven just by not just by technology, but also it's now culturally normalized. And that should be underscored, culturally normalized. Parents accept this, the children think it's the way to go, and the larger society don't seem to be frowning at it. The unfortunate situation we have in our hands is a situation where the JAMB leadership seem to be too invested in technology, that they are ignoring the fact that parents and their children are in an unholy union to perpetrate examination malpractice. And we have to interrogate the matter and find out why that is the case. And if you investigate into it, you will understand that you don't have to completely blame the parents and the children. We live in a society that over-celebrates certificates. We live in a society where a child spends 6 years in secondary school and we're using only a 3-hour examination to determine whether or not he's fit to go to the university. In such a situation, you will have the kind of problem that we are discussing now. In Senate climes, you have to consider the entire 6 years of a child in school and put all of his performances in every term into consideration when you're determining whether or not he's fit to benefit from university education. That's not our practice in Nigeria. We are just using a JAMB exam test that doesn't last more than 3 hours to determine who goes into university and who does not. And we are trying to use technology to solve that problem. No, you can't. It's a systemic challenge, and even employers are involved in it. Employers who don't seem to be very concerned about skills, about knowledge, about the right values, who seem to be determining who works for them strictly on the basis of the kind of certificates that young people possess. So long as we continue to have a country where we worship certificate and money, we will continue to have the kind of problem we're discussing.
But should there be a justifiable reason for a parent to collude with a school for exam malpractice on behalf of their own child or ward. I mean, that no matter what, even if we're a society that celebrates certificates, isn't that also condemnable for parents to involve themselves on behalf of their wards in exam malpractices?
Yeah, certainly it's condemnable, but we have to live with that reality. And we have to also interrogate the matter further to find out why, in spite of the fact that everybody knows that is not acceptable, everybody seems to be doing it. Most private schools are indulging in this because it's a way to sustain the running of those schools, because parents tend to send their children to places where they hear that everybody who attends such schools finishes with 9 A's and comes out with over 300 in JAMB UTME. And we go to churches and mosques and we give testimonies of how well our children have done. And other parents are hearing this, and we tend to embarrass children who are not operating at this level and shame parents who are not able to provide what it takes for their children to fly at that altitude. So long as you continue to have a society where these things will continue to happen, you will not find yourself in a situation where things are going to happen otherwise. So first, that reality is not an acceptable practice. It's not a good conduct on the part of parents, but parents are also members of a society that has, today, become very complacent and have become very accepting.
Because I have limited time, I
and
want to quickly jump in. Apologies for cutting in. But I wanted to ask you about the technology angle, because you mentioned that JAMB is involving itself or concerning itself with too much with technology. But I was thinking, is it that JAMB is concerning itself with technology, or that JAMB is not ahead in terms of technology? Because now it looks like, with the AI, introduction of AI, it looks like anybody can manipulate whatever JAMB brings up. And so JAMB has to be ahead to ensure that whatever it puts in place, it also has anything that can stand as a countermeasure.
Yeah, indeed. That's some good thinking there you're demonstrating. And I am even surprised that children are able to get phones that walk into examination halls. As far back as about 20 years ago, we have had technology that can disable all phones. Phones can ring in certain environments. And in China, for example, in places where exams are written, AI doesn't work there in such places, and the phones don't work in such places. I'm surprised that we have CBT centers where children are able to get information from the internet. We can disable those systems completely, and nobody gets information through internet platforms. So, but having said that, I must still reiterate the fact that technology alone cannot get JAMB out of the woods as far as this problem is concerned. We must get parents, the children, and more importantly, the teachers and school leaders involved, so that we can do this as a collaborative effort. It's our society, it's not just JAMB society. And JAMB should not take on a battle that only it cannot fight and win.
Well, we'll see how the measures that JAMB will put in place. We'll be monitoring that development. Thank you so much for your time. Researcher and educationist Peter Ogundero.
My pleasure.
You're watching